Hello everyone, it's Karen Knott here from Primetime Business, welcoming you to another edition of Primetime Business Women in Action. And this lovely lady you can see here, I don't know which way you'll come up on the screen actually, Priya, is Priya Tourkow. Now, Priya is a psychotherapist who specialises in working with couples, and she's yet another of these women who has not just one but two businesses. So welcome, Priya.
Thank you very much, Karen. It's lovely to be here.
But let's just start off then. Tell us about these two businesses of yours.
Okay. Well, the first one, which I call my basic bread and butter business.
Right. Yeah.
I've had, and I was counting out actually how long I've had it, and it's about 17 years.
Wow.
And that's my basic private practice, which I've always run from my home, and really I love it to pieces.
Right.
And, you know, people come in and take their shoes off in the hall, come up the stairs and come and sit with me in my therapy room. And
Is that a dedicated room that you have? Is that where you are now?
I'm in it now.
Oh, yeah, excellent.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I've got a sofa opposite me,
Right.
which you can't see, because I see a lot of couples. I don't necessarily see all couples, but I specialise in relationship work, so inevitably it's couples that are in relationship, and they sit on my sofa, and I love it. I mean, I really do. As I say, it's been going a long time, it's evolved, and it is a business, even though, you know, sometimes I think people, when they talk of therapy work, they don't think of it as a business, but it is, you know. I pays my taxes, and I record everything, so it is a business. So that's my bread and butter business. And then a few years ago, I created a second part of it, which is me and my husband running courses, workshops, if you like, retreats, support groups for couples, sometimes in our own home if it's a small support group, or in a venue, and so it's a whole different ball game,
So
really.
what's that business called?
Well, that one's called Intimacy Works.
Okay. And did Intimacy Works evolve from your private practice?
Sort of. Yes, because obviously it's the same kind of area of work. It's around relationships. But I suppose the inspiration for Intimacy Works was years ago. I mean, this was another business, but I'm not going to call it that really, because it didn't bring me in money. But what I was doing, I was organising courses for people coming over from the States. And these courses were about love and intimacy. And they were weekend courses, and I worked very, very hard for 10 years organising them. And after a while, I thought, hey, you know, I can be doing this.
I knew you were going to say that, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
this is my work.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is my work. And in fact, I was partly running some of the courses, because we used to run the intro evenings. And, you know, when I had a script that was their script, I sort of found myself changing the words around and making it sound more Priya-like, you know. And I thought, I'm doing this, I'm facilitating. And I absolutely adore groups. I mean, I think when I was a little girl, I used to sing in the garden for the family, you know, and somehow people used to gather. And I think I like having a little group. And,
A performer.
I'm a performer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, I have a calling for this, I think, and I'm passionate about relationships. So you put it all together, and that's it.
It's a natural fit, isn't it?
It feels so natural for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I mean, all of us, I guess, wear two hats, don't we? There's the hat of, you know, what we actually do, like your hat as a, you know, therapist, and the other hat is a business owner.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you know, how have you found, you know, integrating those two things?
Quite hard, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think I've matured and mellowed into it,
Okay, right.
if that's the right word. But I think I had resistance to start with because, you know, I don't know if this is really true, but I think a lot of therapists just think I'm a therapist,
Yeah.
you know, and so I was a therapist. And then somewhere down the line you think, well, wait a minute, you know, people pay me, I've got to deal with all that, and, you know, and there's various things I have to organise. You know, I have to have a contract for my clients, you know, and as time goes on, it's a bit, it's not the same, I think, as somebody saying I'm going to start a business. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like, right, you know, I'm starting a practice. I'm starting a therapy practice.
Yeah, yeah.
So in a way, I feel I've had to learn, and it's come to me that yes, actually, I really need to pay attention to that, and I really need to pay attention to that. And it's only a lot further down the line, and I have to say, with a lot of your help, that I've realised, you know, I need to promote myself. I need to actually put myself out in the world and blog.
Right.
You know, what? Blog. And also, I have to confess, I was a technophobe. You know, I don't think I am now, actually. I think I'm, amazingly, my husband sometimes says, wow, I'm amazed you can do that, you know, and I'm amazed myself.
Yeah, I think it's those like technology is often the thing that perhaps is a barrier to lots of women, you know, and particularly perhaps, you know, as we get a bit older. But I don't know about you, Priya, it's a question of you just do it, and you learn it as you go along,
Yes.
don't you?
Yes, you do. Sometimes I have a big, oh my God, you know, when there's a big long explanation about what to do, and it feels very complicated. But I have learned, I think it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And with all the business bits, and there are lots, and especially having branched into running courses, you know, I'm renting venues, I'm doing all sorts of things, all very practical, that have to be done. So
Do you
yeah.
sort of see yourself as an entrepreneur? Because you are an entrepreneur. But I mean, you know, okay, so you have an entrepreneurial spirit. Do you think this is something which you've always had? If you look back, can you sort of see the seeds of this? Or is it something which is just you've had to become?
No, actually, because when I was looking at the questions and it asks about, you know, where maybe something about where that came from, I have a very distinct memory of my father saying, "Don't ever work for anyone else." You know, he ran a car showroom,
Right.
which was renowned for its sort of zaniness,
Right.
and people were a bit scared of him, you know, because he was a bit bolshy with people who came to buy cars.
So the faulty towers of car sales.
Exactly, exactly. But I think I learnt from my dad in some rather rough-shod way that it's good to do it your way.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to do it your way. And obviously I have had jobs. I mean, I was a teacher, I was a social worker. But if I look back, you know, Karen, I think I was a bit bolshy with bosses all along the way on various occasions. And I'm not very keen on rules and systems, you know, that kind of, unless they make a lot of sense to me. So I don't think I'm the ideal employee. So I think the bottom line is, yes, I've always had a hankering, you know, really to do it my way, I suppose.
Yeah. I always say I'm now up here. I'm psychologically unemployable. Yeah, exactly as you've said. You know, it's about trying to.
catchy.
Yeah, it's like I can't sort of fit into someone else's system. I can create my own, and
Yeah,
that is just such a privilege. You know, to I
yeah.
don't know about you, but you know, I have been in situations where it's been, oh God, it's really hard to do it someone else's way.
Oh, tell me about
Well,
it.
like you were saying about delivering those first courses, you know, having to
Yeah,
say someone else's words, etc., when, you know, it's not the way you would do it.
I know. I mean, I had a recent incident when I won't give you any details, but because in supporting a client of mine, I've actually had to have dealings with social services.
Right.
And I find it very hard to contain myself when they talk about the certain ways they're going to do things,
Yeah.
which I feel they have no capacity to put themselves in my client's shoes. And it just makes me so angry, and I want to say all sorts of things, you know.
But of course you don't, because you're far too professional.
Well, I daren't
I
actually.
daren't, yes.
Yes, I mean, I think
So,
my supervisor would sort of castigate me if I did.
what would you say is the best bit then? I mean, we've sort of touched a little bit about, you know, being able to do your own thing, but what do you get from your business?
Mm. Well, yes. I mean, well, first of all, I have to say it is the work itself. I mean, the nature of my work is incredibly rewarding. I just love it to pieces. I love seeing progress for couples
Yeah.
and people who have difficulties with relationships. It you know, it warms my heart. So yes, I could be doing that, you know, I could be working in a clinic somewhere employed, and that same thing could happen. But something wonderful about them coming into my house, you know, into this space, and I feel like I create an ambiance for them. So there's all of that. And I love, you know, I might have 5, 6 clients that day, then I can, you know, I go for a walk, I can pop to the hairdressers, I can, you know, all those things
Yeah.
that we love
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
I feel free. I feel, I love the feeling of making my own decisions. Um, yeah, that is a good feeling. They're not always sensible.
No, it's funny. It's a bit of a sort of a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like, you know, we're
Yes,
desperate to make our own decisions, but there are a lot of them to make as well.
there are.
And it's like,
Yes, yes.
I've got to make this decision. Yeah. There's no sort of committee to.
There's no committee, but it's very different, I think, to be able to say to somebody, "Hey, what do you think about this?" You know, or in my women's business club group
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
go to,
yeah,
you know, I can say, "I've got this idea. What do you think?" That's very different from having a boss saying you need to do it this way,
yeah, totally,
or
totally.
me then perhaps saying, well, I'm not sure that I feel quite right about that. Could we discuss it? That
Mm,
feels so
mm,
different, you
mm,
know, than
mm.
me saying, well, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? Or I'm just thinking about it and I'm thinking, I'll give it a go, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
actually, it's all, so if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know this is going to be quite a difficult one for you to choose, I suspect, but I'm going to ask, can you pick out something like one of your best moments to date in your business? You know, what would you sort of say has been something which made you sort of think, oh God, yes, you know, I love what I do.
Yeah. Well, I can actually
Oh, can
very
you? Good.
easily because
Right,
it's
okay.
still so exciting, and that is we were at a festival I think 3 years ago, and it was a 4-day festival, and our workshop was on the last day. So every morning they had a little say what what the offerings are for the day. You know, so we mentioned that in 4 days, and I couldn't believe it. We had 32 couples come into this room, and um, it was so alive and colourful
Mm.
and beautiful. And at one At one point, I said to my husband, "Forget the script." I just felt like I was on a cloud of creation. It was truly beautiful, and I love that when I just get creating, and I don't know what's going to happen next, and it's fantastic, and I love that energy.
Yeah. Do you know, I think, Priya, having your own business is one of the most creative things you can possibly do,
Absolutely.
because you get to use all different parts of you, don't you?
Yes,
You know,
yes.
which you don't really have opportunity to do if you're in a job. Very often there's a sort of a compromise somewhere along the line, isn't there? Whereas
Yes.
when it's your own thing, you just use it all, you know, all the bits that you're good at.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
It does have, I mean, I don't know if you're going to ask me this question, but I think one of the things I would say that's difficult is that it's in my house, you know, I've just said the wonderfulness of it being in my house and having my clients come, but sometimes, you know, I can't shut that door of my office, you know, with me on the other side of it, you know.
Yeah.
I just can't shut it. I kind of find myself in there, you know, waking up with inspirations and rushing in and thinking, oh, yes, yes, you know, and I know I work very long hours, sometimes at funny times, which I probably wouldn't do if I was employed, but hey, you know.
Yeah. No, undoubtedly there are challenges, and you've just mentioned one. Is there anything else that you would say has been, you know, maybe a less than positive? Because let's be honest, you know, we need to give a realistic picture of life as a business, and it's not all you know, going out for long walks and.
Well, absolutely, and I do get anxious about enough money coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a reality. I don't know if this is typical of lots of other businesses, but certainly in the therapy business, it's very up and down.
Right.
You know, there is a bit of a seasonal feel to it sometimes. And sometimes I forget when it goes into a bit of a down that there's going to be an up.
Yeah.
And I mean, amazingly at the moment, it's very much on the up, and I can't believe I just booked a couple in for tonight at 9:15, which, you know, that's late, but I didn't want to say no.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I do get anxious sometimes about the flow of it, enough money, and just holding it somehow. I don't know what I mean by that. I sort of get a fear sometimes, you know. I am 66 and I feel like, oh, well, because it almost feels, interestingly, especially with the Intimacy Works business, that it's just starting to take off. And then I think, blimey, I'm 66, you know, what am I doing? What's going to happen in 5 years, say? You know, probably I'll just carry on and I'll be a bit more doddery or something. But I don't know.
Well, this age thing, you know, I touch upon it in a lot of these interviews, but in fact, I'm thinking almost of not talking about it, because everybody, really, they sort of say, well, okay, obviously age comes up, but it never stops anyone doing what they're doing. It's almost like, you know, they have all this energy still. Obviously, with you, you can see the energy in you. So it's like, you know, well, why wouldn't you? Age is a number, you know, and it's up to you to decide when you're going to stop. If you love what you're doing and you have the energy and the health to do it, why wouldn't you?
Well, exactly. And I do have this vision that, it becomes almost around the hearth, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But if I was in a job, I'd be having to retire, and that really makes me think, wow, how is that for people?
How is that for people? Exactly.
Okay, that's it. You've come to retirement age.
Yeah. When, I just think it's another phase of life when, people do look to give something back, don't they? They want to contribute to society. You don't suddenly stop wanting to do things when you're in your 60s, do you?
Absolutely.
Look, Priya, I can't believe it's only, you know, we've had 20 minutes. I can't believe we're coming to the end already, but let's just sort of wrap it up. Can you just perhaps give us some words of wisdom or words of advice to anyone who's listening to this and is either just starting out or is thinking about, you know, creating something for themselves? What would you say to them?
I would say if it's a real passion to do this, to create this business, then do it, because I think it's got to be based on passion.
Yeah.
And I would also say keep it personal, because even if you're selling handbags, you know, when I go on a website, you know, I like to see who is this person selling the handbag. I like to see their face, and I like to see a comment or two of theirs about, so I mean, people, I know in my business it is about personal, but I think it's to some degree in every business.
I agree.
It's about the person, what they create, and I think people really appreciate hearing about their journey, about how they feel about what they're producing. It's humanness.
Yes, absolutely. I think we've had it with like faceless business, haven't we? I mean, you know, we tried that. That's failed dismally, hasn't it? And people want to know, you know, the provenance of their foods and things now, don't they? So
absolutely,
you know, they want to know the unique person behind whatever it is that they're doing. I agree totally.
Yes.
Well, Priya, thank you so much. Like I say, these interviews always just go by like that, you know, but we've come to the end now, and I'm going to make sure I put all your details below, so if people want to find out more about Intimacy Works and your private practice, they can do so on this page. So thank you so much, Priya.
Oh, it's been a great pleasure, Karen. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.